All right, today we're going to try and convert this 120 mil NZXT AIO into a RAM cooler. So how did this idea even come about? Well, if you guys remember when I finished my build there, we could not water cool the memory, and that left a bad taste in my mouth. I always wanted to have a third separate loop for the RAM specifically. It's like making it to the finish line and then not passing it. So I attempted a few options, right? We have the 120 mil grands in here, far too large for the Maestro case. And then I actually found one that did sort of work. I got this one off AliExpress, and I got it to work by putting a 120 mil slim fan as kind of a spacer, pushing it forward, and then it kind of cleared the case a little bit. So then, if this one works, why am I making this video, right? Well, this thing costs $200, right? And then me and the boys in the Discord were discussing $200 is far too much to pay for a 120 mil kind of built-in AIO type thing. In fact, both of these radiators with the built-in pumps here, they both cost around $200, right? And any kind of sane person is not going to want to pay for that. So then I got thinking, I'm like, why are these $200? I know for a fact that I have seen that there are 120 mil AIOs with water pumps built into them for less than what this thing costs. So then let me show you what I'm talking about here, right? This AIO here from NZXT, I believe there are others. This is just the first one that came up on Google. This thing here, the square kind of box here, this is the water pump on the actual radiator. And look how tiny this thing is, right? So why can't we buy this unit separately? The answer is no, you can't, right? But can you mod this AIO or maybe just harvest the radiator? Well, that's what we're going to try today. Then the question becomes, Jufus, why the heck would you buy an entire AIO just to harvest the radiator, right? Isn't that too expensive? Anyway, you might as well get one of those. No, actually, if you go on Amazon warehouse deals, that's where I got this thing from, you can get these AIOs, I guess they're used or secondhand, for $50 off Amazon. Affiliate links down below. So I picked this thing up for $50. It doesn't matter if it comes with all the missing hardware or mounts or whatever or screws. We're only interested in the radiator, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop the hoses off this thing. I'm going to drill and tap the fittings on here so that regular G1/4 can fit. And then we'll try and run some water through it and see if we can cool some RAM down for $50. Don't forget this video was brought to you by the supporters of the channel. All products on this channel are purchased with supporter money so that I can review them with no bias. No bias means there are no corporate overlords pulling the strings, telling me what to say about any product. Now, if you believe in the vision here at Frame Chasers, head on over to framechasers.org, become a supporter, get access to the Discord, where all information in that Discord is curated and filtered to be factual only. We do not allow any misinformation in that Discord whatsoever. It is the only place on the internet to get real answers about hardware with no bullshit. You know, you can't ever say that the Frame Chasers community is not green and environmentally friendly. We're basically taking old landfill Amazon warehouse parts and turning them into RAM coolers. So the first way that you actually could do this in the easiest way, maybe just take some snips, and then you could just cut off the CPU block here and just use the stock hoses. It wouldn't look too nice, depending on if you're trying to make your build aesthetic, but you could make it work that way, and you still get everything working for $50. So let's actually start by doing that, because I want to actually harvest the coolant that comes out of this thing. Okay, so here's the thing. This radiator is aluminum, right? Now, when you mix aluminum with a copper water block, you have to use special coolant. No colored coolant. Do not ever use colored coolant. You have to use mixed metal coolant to make it work properly, right? And what do you think they got stock in here, right? So I'm going to be cheap and I'm going to re-harvest the coolant that comes in this, and then we're going to re-put it in there after, which I'm being cheap as hell. You could probably just spend the 20 bucks extra and buy some coolant, right? Let's try cutting one of these bad boys. Wonder if these scissors are sharp enough. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Easy peasy. Look at that. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, give me all that coolant, baby. That's one way you could do it, right? There. Now you got your AIO with 2 hoses, and you can attach these to your RAM cooler, right? It's non-directional, doesn't matter. And then the actual CPU cold plate here, we're just gonna toss this. We do not need this. Okay, so now we're gonna go one step further here, and I'm gonna try and cut off the hoses at the fittings here next. I'm gonna take a razor blade and cut off the rubber grommet here, like so. Yeah, there we go. So now you actually have a stock barbed fitting here. I don't know what size this is, it's quite small, but you can also attach your own soft lines with some alligator clamps onto the stock barbed fittings here, and you could do it that way as well. So that is option number 2, which is the second easiest way to go about this. So with the rubber hoses off now, we have our standalone 120 mil radiator with this built-in water pump here, and then this is the header that controls the water pump power, right? Well, we have to cut off these barbed fittings here, and you can leave the fill port. I'm gonna chop it off because I want to use a G1/4 fill port. So then we gotta borrow our buddy here, good old rusty hacksaw. And then with our hacksaw buddy, we gotta try to cut the fitting as close to the wall of the radiator as possible, right? Because we have to drill it after, and the less we have to drill, the better. So we're just gonna ease it in like this. Yeah, like just like that. As smooth as your mom's walls on a Saturday night. So now what we got to do is we have to drill and tap each hole. Now you can actually buy this drill and tap kit off Amazon. I will leave an affiliate link down below to the exact kit that I'm using. It's going to be very rare that somebody would just have a G1/4 drill and tap, just handy dandy, but you can buy them. I think it was like 18 bucks or something for the pair, right? So then first, we're gonna take our drill here. We're just gonna go straight in, and you gotta make sure that she is centered. Nice. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the shavings do go inside of it. After you put your barbed fittings on, you're better off just going to like your kitchen sink or whatever and flushing it all out, right? Then we gotta take our handy dandy tap here, and we gotta center it, make sure it's super center, and a twist we go. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Now, one potential issue that might arise is the aluminum here where the fittings go is really thin. So you might want to use maybe some Loctite or maybe some RTV sealant. You don't have to, because the rubber grommets on the G1/4 seal it up, but just be very careful not to over tighten and strip it again, because if you do that, then you're shit out of luck, right? And then here we go. So we have the final product. We have our in and our out ports here, and then we have our fill port over here. So there you go. Now the next question that I might get is, could you run a whole loop off of this thing? I'm probably going to go ahead and say no. This water pump is quite weak. I mean, maybe a CPU cooler, but then what would be the point of this entire mod in the first place? And then you wouldn't run a GPU block on it because it's only a 120 mil, right? So this mod really is just to get like a RAM cooler on it. But memory sticks pull such little power that this radiator is more than enough to cool memory even on a hot, boiling summer day, right? So this mod for memory sticks is the GOAT. Okay, now for my build specifically here in the Maestro case, it won't fit on the back without a fan as a spacer, but you could kind of put it like this if you wanted to do kind of exhaust only. That's pretty ugly though. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a Chromax 120 mil and use that as the spacer, and then put the TL 120 in the front, right? And then here we go. So I'm using the slim 120 mil as a spacer to push it forward. Now the radiator fits, and then we can use the TL. This is, I'm not leaving it like this, obviously. I'm just doing this very quickly for the sake of the video, right? Otherwise, I would flip this upside down. But then in order to fill it up, you got to flip the entire PC upside down to get the air bubbles to go to the top. But whatever, I digress. We're going to do it this way just to see if it actually works, okay? All right, got the spare power supply here, and we're gonna turn it on. That's gonna be tough with one hand here. One sec. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, that is not a lot of pressure, honestly. Not much. I'm surprised it's even, I'm surprised it can even cool a CPU, to be honest. But it's enough for a RAM water block, right? Okay, so she's all up and running here with that beautiful Frame Chasers memory. Now, we're starting off at about 35 Celsius here. The AIO pump, I plugged it into that port there. Looks like it's running at 3,400 RPM. This is the NZXT radiator, and we're running 1.6 volts on the memory sticks, which is a very, very healthy voltage, right? So let's run this for about 30 minutes or so and see what temperatures the memory get up to. Okay, we're back now, and we've been stress testing for about almost 50 minutes now, and yeah, 1.6 volts, and DRAM temps are at 40 Celsius, so that is fantastic for 50 bucks. So we can run some pretty insane overclocks with our memory running at 40C at 1.6 volts. So all in all, very successful test here. Great mod to do if you need some cooler RAM temps and you are on a budget. Now, the main advantage of doing it this way is when you have a separate loop for the memory, it doesn't get heated up by the GPU or the CPU, only by this one radiator. So it keeps the memory separate from the rest of the PC, which results in cooler temperatures, higher overclocks, tighter timings. This was just a fun video idea that I had because, yeah, $200 for these things is definitely far too expensive. Not when you can just pick one of these up for 50 bucks and mod it, right? Don't forget, guys, if you are planning on doing this mod, it has to be this exact radiator. The 240 and the 360 mil NZXT ones, those don't work. They don't have the pump on the radiator, only the 120 mil. Make sure you use those affiliate links down below to make sure that you get the correct one. I will also affiliate link the tap and die set here so that you can make sure that you get the correct ones for the fittings. But now the real W is I got 3 separate loops in my PC, and we will be doing benchmarks very soon against the 7800X3D. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And I hope you learned something today. And if you like the content, hit that subscribe button, do all that YouTube SEO stuff, like, share, subscribe, comment down below if you've tried something like this before, or if you have your water-cooled memory on a separate loop of some kind, and what your temperatures and overclocks are. And I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you later.